Honda seems to be getting involved in choosing the drivers for Aston Martin racing team lately. New reports say that they will definitely have a say in who gets to drive the race cars. Even though we thought that this was a decision made only by Lawrence and his business friends, Honda has kind of figured out how powerful they are when they bring their engines to the table with the new rules. So now they want to say too. With this in mind, and with Newey not being happy with Stroll, can we have a situation where multiple world champions end up being teammates starting in 2026? There's definitely a lot to talk about when it comes to Aston Martin's driver lineup, especially if we look at Lance Stroll. Even though the Canadian driver has been criticized for his last couple of years, there seems to be no desire at all from his father Lawrence to accept the fact that he's just not the F1 champion he wants him to be. Now that the pieces are in place and Adrian started working on the 2026 rules, Honda has joined the conversation when it comes to choosing the drivers. According to the president of the Japanese company Kaji Watanabe, there won't be any changes in how they work with Aston Martin compared to how they worked with Red Bull when it comes to this matter. Explaining more about their involvement in choosing Aston Martin's drivers, Watanabe said, "It's an honor to work together with Newey at Aston Martin. We'll work together to create a competitive F1 car. The number of seats that Honda will provide engines for will be smaller. However, we will continue to speak up as Honda in deciding the drivers for the 2026 season and beyond. Obviously, the team has the final say in deciding which drivers join the team, but the situation will be the same as Red Bull, where we will have our say." Now, of course, the attention is switched to two drivers, Verstappen and Tsunoda. These two drivers are now teammates at Red Bull, but most people believe that if the team starts to go downhill with the new rules, which is a realistic expectation because they don't have much experience in building engines, then Verstappen will look for a new future somewhere else. Everything he's won in the past couple of years has been with Honda and Newey, and now these two key things have left the team and joined forces at one of their rival teams. Max might find it hard to keep being loyal to Red Bull up to his usual standards. What's an even more interesting question is who he's going to replace in the Silverstone team if the opportunity ever comes up. Most people believe that Alonso is going to leave the team after the 2026 season, but after Newey's latest comments about Lance Stroll that have been said behind closed doors, that might change. Now Honda has joined the chat as well, and Kaji Watanabe has talked about getting back together with Max, something that even the four-time world champion is excited to see happen. There's absolutely no doubt that the 2026 rules are going to be dominated by engines. So, if Honda pulls some magical performance out of their engine because of their current success with Red Bull, they could be too good of an offer for Max to say no to. When talking about the possible reunion with Max, which is likely to happen only with Aston Martin as things stand right now, Watanabe said, "Honestly, I hope there will be another chance for Honda to work with Max Verstappen. I really hope so. I've talked to him many times, and he has always been positive about our attitude and mindset." Max is also very good at communicating with the Honda engineers. He speaks clearly with them, and that makes sure the engineers have become fans of his, which is why they work so hard for him. People often see the sportsman, but I also have deep respect for Max as a person. What is even more important is that Max feels the same way. The four-time world champion has always talked about how the team needs to make the car better and not look for a second driver who will magically adjust himself to the difficult nature of that RB21. However, Verstappen understands very well that the situation he's currently in can change very quickly. So once 2026 starts, a new opportunity might be coming. Explaining more about this, Max said, "Of course, before we started working with Honda, we had our success. But I could have never imagined how high we got, winning 4 championships together. It's more about remembering what we've achieved together in the sport, and who knows, of course, in the future as well. You know, what can be done, so it's a goodbye for now, but that's it. I'm still quite young, and you never know what happens in the future. The situation doesn't look good for the entire Stroll family. Lance is the one getting criticized, while Lawrence has to prove that this project won't be a waste by saying, waste I mean, let someone else win a championship after all of the millions he's put into the new factories in Silverstone and the people he's brought from other teams. But as things stand, it seems like deep down Lawrence knows that if someday, as early as 2026, Aston Martin wins, then it's definitely not going to be with Lance. The 2025 championship, however, gives us a very interesting picture. Lance is the one who scored 100% of the points for the team in the first 3 rounds, one of which had a sprint race event as well. All of this is giving us hope that once the car starts working better, we might see a different version of Lance. But it's still very far away from being championship-winning quality. For this to happen, we'd have to see a very dominant Aston Martin with a very poorly performing teammate of the Canadian driver. It's just too much to ask given the fact that Ferrari and Mercedes will be in the picture as well. And what we definitely hope is that Newey and Honda will have tons of influence over Lawrence's decision to make the right choice and bring Verstappen on board to replace Lance. Having the chance to work with 2 multiple world champions is something very special, and if Aston Martin manages to pull that off, it's definitely going to help them in the bigger picture. One of the supporters talking about this scenario is Juan Pablo Montoya, as the Colombian driver believes that the offer Max will get from the Silverstone team is going to be too big to ignore. Explaining more about this, Montoya said, "I think Max will get an offer he can't refuse from Aston Martin. He might give Red Bull a chance for a year and a chance for Adrian to start figuring it out. Adrian can't do that right away. It's a whole new group and everyone needs to start working together. Are they going to be better than where they are? Next year, for sure, but I don't think they're going to start winning a bunch of races. But if Red Bull struggles in year 1, then it wouldn't surprise me if by race 3 Max is already signed with somebody else. If I were Max, I would go to Aston. Mercedes would be cool too. But Aston would be the logical choice, having Adrian and Honda. Everything he's won with is there. But there's something that we must not forget, and that's the latest business move of Lawrence Stroll. The Canadian billionaire sold a large part of his team in trying to make his position within the team stronger, which shows that he's not ready to give up on the project just yet. Quite the opposite, he won't leave until he sees his team on the top, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, it's going to be hard to convince him that Lance is just not the right type of driver that the team needs to deliver the performance they want. Yes, the first 3 races of 2025 are saying otherwise. But we cannot just ignore the fact that he's been really poor in the past couple of seasons, which should be more than enough of a reason for Honda and Newey to push their plan for a reunion. With Max, the question here is whether Max or Tsunoda would be interested in joining Aston Martin if they know that their teammate will be Lance. What this shows is that the family favoritism factor might drive away a lot of drivers from this amazing opportunity. And what's interesting to see is how much Honda's power will actually help Aston Martin get to this position. According to Koji Watanabe, there's still a lot of work to be done on the engines for 2026, and when talking about it more, he lowered the expectations for the Aston Martin fans even more by saying, "We're struggling now. We're trying our best to show the result next year. Everything is new." The motor is a new 355 kilowatts, very compact one. We need also the light battery. It's not so easy to develop the small engine with the big power. Everything's very difficult, but we try our best. With all of this in mind, do you think that Honda will try to get either Verstappen or Tsunoda to Aston Martin if they have the chance? And more importantly, do you think that the 4-time world champion will be ready to give up on the Austrian team and look for better opportunities somewhere else? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.